Hey guys, Alex Kahn here, and I am a former Disney cast member. And the reason why I'm starting this vlog series is because a few days ago I was looking at some pictures of when I worked at Disney back in the late 90's, and then I realized I only had a few pictures. This was long before like Facebook, long before YouTube. So I haven't really shared my experiences working at Disney with anybody. Not even when MySpace came around, I didn't really share my experiences. And after looking at my pictures, I watched a few YouTube vlogs of current Disney cast members and former Disney cast members. And I was like, hey, this might be a cool way for me to connect with other former Disney cast members, or even some current Disney cast members, or just people who wanted to know what working at Disney was like. I'm going to introduce myself in just a minute, like talk about things that are still relevant, and then I'm going to talk about how I got hired at Disney, why I wanted to get hired at Disney, and I'm hoping that by talking about this kind of stuff, I can jog my memory from when I did work there, because there's so many things I forgot from 1998 and 1999. Those are the summers that I worked at Disney. So I want to talk about these things, and hopefully that'll jog my memory, and then I can, bring this past back to life. And if you guys have any questions about Disney, please ask me. So a little introduction about myself. I'm Alex Kahn, and you can see my name is X Prince of Macedon X, and that has nothing to do with Disney. That's more of a gaming / history thing. I call myself the Prince of Macedon because I play this war game, and I try to emulate one of my favorite historical military commanders, who was Alexander the Great. So yeah, the Prince thing has nothing to do with Disney. That's a historical reference. I am a current annual pass holder for Disney. I have the Platinum Pass. So I still live in Orlando, so I can visit Disney anytime I want. In fact, before the pandemic started, I was at Disney in some capacity at least once a week. And it was usually a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday that I'd go visit. But like during the week, I would go visit like Disney Springs, which back in my day, it wasn't called that. It was called Downtown Disney and the Marketplace. So yeah, I still love Disney. I still have, I still buy stuff. I have a Coco Magic Band, which is very limited. I still collect, I started collecting Disney pins, which I might show you guys more in the future. But I have a lot of live action pins, and then pins of some of my favorite characters, like Duke Kaboom. I got some Star Wars pins. I'm still new to the pin thing. And I got some pins from when Disney Quest was around. And Disney Princess, this is Ariel. And then one of my favorite Disney characters is actually Vanellope von Schweetz. You want to know what I like about her? If you can't tell, I like car stuff. So Vanellope is one of the best Disney car drivers there are. And then there's other Disney cars that are worth mentioning too, like Herbie, Pixar's cars. But yeah, those are my Disney pins. I have this set from Onward, which I haven't seen yet, but I know they have this cool van called Guinevere, which I use to travel on the road. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't really comment. Oh yeah, Disney Quest. I'm going to talk more about this later on, because back in the day, 98, Disney Quest, they just opened when I was hired there. So I actually got to see Disney Quest as it first opened. Yeah, one of my favorite characters is Duke Kaboom. I also I love Moana. I love Vanellope von Schweetz. Those are my favorite characters. But meet and greets, I like meeting all the princesses. I like seeing what they're wearing, and I like seeing the actors and actresses try to bring their characters to life. I like to ask them questions and just see how they answer. I'm not going to zoom in on this one. This is a backstage picture. But yeah, back in the day, I would go to this is when I was working at Disney. 98, we would go to Virgin Records a lot. So yeah, let's talk about how I got hired there. So yeah, I worked at Disney World for what's Walt Disney World. I worked there the summers of 1998 and the summer of 1999, and that's back when I was going to Florida State University. So when I wasn't taking classes, I'd come back home for the summer, and then for the summer of '98, I was like, hey, I want to I want to work at Disney. So actually, yeah, me and my buddy, we both went out to Disney to apply for a job there, and we weren't really sure what we actually wanted, but we both wanted some form of like an attractions, like a ride or something. And I always loved EPCOT the most myself, so I had this in my mindset. I wanted to work at EPCOT in some capacity. But yeah, we drove down to Lake Buena Vista, and that's where the big casting center is. It's still there. It's this very huge structure. It kind of reminds me of Willy Wonka, but for Disney applicants. It's really cool going inside there. But yeah, we went there. We filled out our applications. At some point, they do ask you what you want to do. What jobs are open, and a attractions attendant, or I forget what they call it, attractions host, was open, which meant rides. So we definitely put that as a place to work. I mean, as a role to work at Disney, because we didn't want to work custodial, we did not want to work merchandise, did not want to work food. So we definitely put attractions hosts. I honestly can't remember what they call it. And at some point too, we also put where we wanted to work, and I put EPCOT as my top. So we eventually, got another call from the lady down the hall, and she said, "Hey, I want you guys to go down the hallway and pick up those phones down there." This is back before there were cell phones. So we picked up these telephones after it rang. I picked up my phone, and it was some girl, and obviously it was a cast member, but she was asking me questions. These are questions that would basically look at my character, my personality, because Disney did not want to hire the wrong type of person. So I tried to be as lively as I could, try to be really happy, and I answered some questions. But the biggest question that this girl asked me was, "I want you to tell me a story." And I was like, "Oh crap, I don't really know any stories." And she was like, "No." She was having fun with me, and then she asked me again. So I kind of got the idea that if I couldn't answer this question or even try, I wasn't going to get hired. So I basically just told her, "Hey, I'm going to tell you a story about the Little Prince." And the Little Prince is already a famous story. So I told her, "Hey, this is the only story that I really know. So I'm just going to tell you about this little prince who lived on this really little planet, who walked around his little planet, watering his plants. And eventually he wanted to explore other places." So I told her the story about that. And then about a week later, we got the call and saying that, "Hey, yeah, you guys are hired." But yeah, they told us to report to the orientation, which was in like a week or so. So when that time came, we drove out to Disney property. It didn't take place at any of the theme parks. It took place, I forgot where it took place. And I don't know if it's the same place that new hires get oriented at Disney today. I don't really know. I would have to look and see, ask people questions. But yeah, we went to this orientation, and at the orientation, we started off the meeting by going around the tables, asking people what our names were, where we're from, why we wanted to work at Disney, and most importantly, who our favorite Disney characters were. So it's kind of funny. They're going around the tables. People were saying like, "Oh yeah, Ariel is my favorite character." Another person said, "Oh yeah, Cinderella is my favorite." And then when it got over to me, at the time, when I gave my answer, my favorite character was Gaston. So when I told people that, people were looking at me like this, because I was the only person who mentioned a Disney villain. I was actually tossing up between Ursula and Gaston. So yeah, I told everybody my favorite character was Gaston, and people were like, "Who is this guy? Why is he working at Disney?" But yeah, so during that day, we just did different types of activities in groups, seeing how we work with other cast members, and just seeing that that we were the right fit for working at Disney, because at this point, they could still say, "Hey, you're not really a good fit for Disney." So a few days later, we actually got to visit our respective parks that we wanted to work at. Oh, by the way, I found out I was working at EPCOT at that orientation, and that was great. I also got my name tag, I believe, and it was a really cool experience because I had asked to work at EPCOT because of the countries. I just love that whole atmosphere of EPCOT, and also all the different types of things that you can learn. So I was very happy that I got to EPCOT, and my buddy, He just wanted to work a ride, and he got sent over to Disney MGM, which today is called Disney Hollywood Studios. So when the time came to visit our respective theme parks, we walked in these big groups again, and we were wearing I was wearing like business semi-casual. It was really hot. But at the end of our orientation at EPCOT, they made us stand by this big fountain. We had no idea what was going on. They were like, "Hey, everybody, put your hand up like this," or I forgot what we did. And then the second we did that, the fountain came to life, and then they started playing all this music. And this guy on the speaker says, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our newest cast members." And we were so floored by that. We were not expecting anything like that. It was such a great ceremony. And then all these random guests that weren't employees, they were all like applauding us. It was such a cool experience. Anyways, sometime later, we ended up, training, obviously. So the place I was hired to go to was the Wonders of Life Pavilion, which honestly, I'd been to Disney many times, but I didn't really remember what the Wonders of Life was. I think all I remember was Body Wars. That's all I remember about the Wonders of Life. So when the time came to actually train at our specific locations, I went to the wardrobe, tried to find the costume that I had to wear, and these costumes are really comfortable. They looked really weird though. They were like a retro sci-fi look. It was like they looked like pajamas. They were like long pants. These 70s space age looking shirts, and they're actually pretty cool now that I think about it, because it did remind me of like the 70s, which I didn't really live in. Yeah, so I walked over to the Wonders of Life Pavilion. It took me a while to find it, and that's when I started getting trained at the Wonders of Life. And then they told me what that was going to entail. They said it's going to be a lot of talking in front of big groups, because I wasn't going to be operating the Body Wars ride. I guess, thank goodness, because I get sick on the ride. The things that I would be doing, I would be operating the Coach's Corner. I would be announcing the Making of Me theater show. And I would also be announcing the Cranium Command show, which is pretty cool. If you had ever seen Inside Out, it's very much like the Cranium Command. I think Inside Out was heavily inspired by the Cranium Command. You're basically inside the head of an adolescent child. So yeah, the training it took a few days, and I had a really good time. My trainer was this really experienced lady, really experienced at Disney. So this is my first time, again, speaking to big groups of people. So the first time I had the microphone, and I even had the script written in front of me, what I had to say. So I read the script really awkwardly, and she could tell I was nervous. I could tell I was nervous. And then she actually went up to me and goes, "You've got a really beautiful voice, and people want to hear you talk. They like the way you talk." So after she said that, I kind of perked up, and I was like, you know what? I do have a good voice. I really don't. But I made the announcement again, and I was able to do it a lot better after a few more tries. And it was at that point, that I finally kind of overcame my fear of talking to big groups of strangers. So that was really fun. That was something that I learned working at Disney, talking to big groups of people. But yeah, training took I think it was 2 or 3 days. I don't remember how long training took. But yeah, I also got to meet the other cast members, and I think I was the only new hire at that point, because I remember the college program was also kicking into gear too. I wasn't part of the college program, even though I was in college. College program is a special program for college people who actually, I think they have to pay to do it. They have to pay for housing too. But I did know a lot of college program people, just because I worked there in the summer, and that's when the college program was. It was in the summer. I remember when I was getting signed off, I was kind of embarrassed, because there was a point where I learned to speak on the microphone. I learned to interact with guests, have fun with them. But what I did neglect was cleanliness. So when my trainer came by, she was like, "Hey, come over here." She wasn't really pissed at me, but she was like, "Hey, we need to look at this." And there was like all this trash in this area. I had just walked there like 10 minutes ago, and this is I was kind of naive. I didn't realize people could make such a big mess in 10 minutes. So at that stage, I was like, shoot, I need to be walking around more constantly looking for trash. But yeah, working at Wonders of Life was really neat because the Making of Me movie was actually pretty cool. It starred Martin Short, and he was a little sperm cell. And you basically learn about how babies were born, but you learned it in such a fun manner that nobody was repulsed by it. Everybody thought it was cute. So yeah, Crane Command, it's hard to explain. Basically, as I said, it's kind of like Inside Out. But in Cranium Command, you're kind of like in this little military cadet crew, and you are following the story through the eyes of a kid named Buzz, and this is Buzz's first time in the Cranium Command. So what he has to do, he has to take command of an adolescent child. So what that involves is he has to coordinate the hypothalamus with the left brain, the right brain, the heart. What you see is you see the boy on his first day of school and how he meets this girl and he gets a crush on her. And basically all the different command sections in the body, they are losing it because it's an adolescent boy. It's his first day of school. He's always nervous. And when he meets his girl, he's really nervous about her. And he also meets these bullies who just makes him really scared. So it's just a really fun thing to see how the body operates. It doesn't really operate like that, but it was just fun. I remember some of the actors in that. There was Bobcat Goldthwait. He was like the nervous system. I forgot who voiced the hypothalamus, but he was pretty cool. But yeah, the two guys were pump you up. They were from Saturday Night Live, and they also played the same skit in Saturday Night Live. There were these big muscle bound people, and I forgot who else was in it. But that was a really fun movie to watch. Like after we loaded the shows, we could we basically sat down and just watched the show. If anybody had to get up and leave, we could help them exit. But basically, what my job involved was in the first area. We would gather people in. We would announce what people should be doing. We would tell people when to enter the doors, and then we would follow that same crowd into the theater, and then we would announce would give an introduction for the movies that they were about to watch. And then in my area, there were two movies. There was The Making of Me and The Cranium Command. And then there was another section called the Coach's Corner. So the Coach's Corner was a lot different than the Making of Me and the Cranium Command shows, because in the Coach's Corner, there wasn't really a script to introduce the shows. In Coach's Corner, basically, I sat behind this console, behind this like batting cage, and then we would let one guest in at a time. Unless it was a little kid, then we could let their parents in too. So we would let these people in, and then they would pick a sport, whether it be baseball, golf. I think there might have been another sport, I forgot. But we would let them, do a little swing, and then based on what they did, we would look at the options on our console and try to give them the best advice on how to improve their, like their golf swing or their baseball swing. We would pick the button on the console, and then a celebrity would pop up, like a celebrity athlete at the time would pop up, and then give them advice on how to improve their technique. So if it was golf, then they got advice from is either Chichi Rodriguez. Yeah, Chichi Rodriguez. For baseball, it was Rod Carew, unless it's mixed up. I forgot. But I remember one time I was doing the Coach's Corner, and I messed up really bad. Basically, this person had picked golf for their sport, and then when it was time to give him advice, I picked baseball. There was another position there. Basically, you would stand out by the entrance to the Wonders of Life Pavilion, and you would just park strollers, where they should go. You would greet people, and just answer questions when guests were coming in. But that wasn't the only thing in that building. But that's the only things that my specific set of cast members were supposed to do. But there was another section. There was the Body Wars, but they were staffed by a different crew altogether. And then there was also the MetLife area. And the MetLife area was this really cool hidden section inside the building. So if there was like a MetLife VIP, we told them where to go. We would walk them to where they had to go, but then they had to get a special pass. They would put it into the wall, and then the wall would just open up, letting them into the special MetLife VIP lounge. So that was a pretty cool thing. I never got to see the inside of that place. Nope, never did. There was one guy who worked at MetLife, and he worked out in the open. And what he did was he basically piloted a MetLife remote control air blimp, and that's all he did all day. He just sat there and flew it all day. That's something that I would have done because you did see the MetLife blimp flying, and yeah, I should have done that. That would have been a really cool thing because you know me, I like RC cars, and I could probably do an RC blimp easily. And then the other section, there was a section for foods. Wonders of Life, it's basically about health. So the food that they had there was all healthy food. So basically places that I wouldn't want to eat at because I wasn't very healthy. But it was cool to see. A lot of people who are health conscious would go inside the Wonders of Life to get healthy food. So that's what that was. That's the kind of stuff I did. And I got to know everybody that worked at Body Wars and the one guy that piloted the RC blimp. I didn't really meet anybody from the food section. I don't know where they took their breaks. I think they might have taken their breaks same place as us, but if they did, we never really talked to them for whatever reason. But everybody, for the most part, where I worked were really cool, especially the people that were in the college program or people that were my same age group. And there were also some older people too that I loved working with. I remember there was only one person I didn't really like. Like he came out acting like a bully, but towards the end of the summer he started acting really nice. I don't know what that was about. But it was a really fun time working there. And I'm trying to think of any cool stories. So I want you guys basically to ask me questions so that it'll jog my memory. But when I worked there in the summers of 98 and 99, so here were the biggest things happening in 98. So in 98, that's when Mulan came out. And when we got hired, the people were bragging that Mulan was hand-drawn right there at in Orlando. So that was a cool selling point, was Mulan. And also that came out, Animal Kingdom just came out too. That came out in April of that year. So summer basically. And when Animal Kingdom opened up, we did get to check it out. And that first week that Animal Kingdom opened, oh my gosh, there were so many horror stories. Because when they first opened it, they weren't really sure how to handle these animals. So yeah, you can read about that if you want. When Animal Kingdom first opened, I know a lot of us were saying that it was really cool, but we got it for free. If we had to pay for that, we would not like it as much. This is back before Pandora, back before Animal Kingdom had all these things that they have today. They didn't have all that. It was really small when Animal Kingdom first opened. And also, when Mulan came out, that's also when Disney Quest came out too. And I remember when me and my coworkers heard about Disney Quest, we all got these 50% discounts to go to Disney Quest. It was either 50% or it was free for us. I forgot. But we all went to Disney Quest, and that's where these brochures were from. So Disney Quest was really fun. There were a lot of things in there that I couldn't do, like the virtual things. Like I remember there was like an Aladdin magic carpet ride where I got really sick. I got virtually sick. My favorite thing to do, my two favorite things to do at Disney Quest, I had two of them. One was I think it was the Buzz Lightyear bumper cars. That involved having two people per car. So one person would drive, and one person would load the gun. And then at the right time, the driver would tell them, hey, put the ball in. When you put the ball in, the thing would shoot at the other bumper car. You could do it by yourself. In fact, I think I mastered a way how to do the bumper cars without having a person loading. And that was one of my favorite things. My other favorite thing was the treasure of the Incas. I think that's what it was called. It was basically it was an RC truck adventure. So the whole floor panel was glass, and it was a maze, and you can see all these different RC safari vehicles as you navigated these catacombs, and it had a Mesoamerican theme to it. So the way it worked was you had a little TV screen that you could look through for a first person point of view, but you needed a second person to go to the glass maze, and they can tell you where to go because they got the big picture, whereas you as a driver got the small picture. And I remember what I like to do there was I would actually get my truck and just drive into another person's truck and just get them stuck inside the maze. And I remember this one kid was getting so mad. He was like, "Who's driving number 14? Who's driving number 14?" That was me. And I think they started walking around to see who it was because they were stuck in the wall. So when I saw them walking around, me and my friends just ran out of there. I mean, we weren't doing anything bad, but we didn't want to get in a confrontation with this really angry kid. I remember a Parent Trap came out in July of that year, which I didn't watch. Yeah, I did watch Parent Trap. That was with Lindsay Lohan, but I didn't watch it with anybody. And then 99, for that summer, the big things was... I'm actually reading on a piece of paper because I forgot what these things were. In 99, that's when The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh first opened. And there was also Storytime with Belle, which came out a month later. But the big movies coming out for that year was Tarzan. And oh my gosh, that music still resonates with me, Phil Collins. And that, what's that? Shoo-be-doo, boo-be-doo, ba-ba-da, boo-be-doo-be-doo-be-doo, ba-ba-ba-ba-da. I love that song. I love that cartoon altogether, to be honest. And there was another cool thing that happened. That's when the Lord of the Dance came to EPCOT. Michael Flatley, he was not in it, but his dance crew was in it, and they were so awesome to watch. And then that's also when Inspector Gadget came out, which I didn't really care to see. But yeah, ask me some questions, and I can tell you stories about my time working at Disney. And I want to meet other Disney cast members, past and present.